This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Senate Republicans have narrowly passed President Trump's top legislative priority.
And now we're here.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The jury in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial said Tuesday they reached a verdict. Julie Walker, New York.
A development in the Brian Kohberger case that has some surprised.
It's the opposite of what we wanted.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Stocks started July yesterday mixed as investors rotated out of technology names. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A federal judge in Tennessee has ruled that Kilmar Abrego Garcia will stay in jail for now. I'm Ben Thomas.
Thousands of Philadelphia city workers strike, stopping trash pickup while a judge orders 911 dispatchers back on the job. I'm Sue Aller.
All ahead on America in the Morning. It took a tie-breaking vote from Vice President JD Vance to pass President Trump's big, beautiful budget bill in the Senate. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports that the measure now goes back to the House, where there's anger by some in the GOP over changes that senators made, which leaves the bill in limbo this morning.
I think we cannot let this moment pass to have the largest tax savings in American history. The average American family back home is going to save $1,000 a month. When this bill passes, we're going to secure the border. Look, this is President Trump's legacy.
We're literally going to take money from people that don't have it, that's used to pay a doctor or a hospital when they're sick. And that money is going to be transferred to the richest people in our country.
They want tax relief. They want border security. They want to make sure that we're deporting illegal immigrants. They want our military to be strong, and that's what this bill does.
That this is bad policy. This is going to kick 17 million people off of their health care.
Senate Republicans have narrowly passed President Trump's top legislative priority, sending his big tax breaks and spending cuts bill back to the House.
Because of this bill, tens of millions will lose health insurance. Millions of jobs will disappear. People will get sick and die. Kids will go hungry, and the debt will explode to levels we have never seen.
All Democrats voted against it, joined by 3 Republicans, including Rand Paul.
I think they're going to look at it and see that it's much less conservative than it started out to be, and it's going to add much more to the debt. And so I think without question, this is not a fiscally conservative bill. And if you're someone who thinks the debt is a problem, I don't see how you could vote for this.
That made the tally 50-50.
The yeas are 50. The nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
Leaving JD Vance to break the tie and end an unusually tense few days on Capitol Hill.
We're fulfilling the mandate we were entrusted with last November and setting our country and the American people up to be safer, stronger, and more prosperous.
Majority Leader John Thune had desperately tried to rally his razor-thin GOP majority to deliver a win.
And now we're here.
A place top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer says they shouldn't be.
Senate Republicans betray the American people and cover the Senate in utter shame.
And in the House,
shame on Senate Republicans.
Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats will do all they can in coming hours and days
to stop this bill from ever becoming law.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The jury in the case of Sean Diddy Combs reached a partial verdict on all of the charges but one, which had the judge send them back to the jury room to decide. Correspondent Julie Walker reports that deliberations on that final charge will begin again this morning.
The jury in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial said Tuesday they reached a verdict on 4 of 5 counts against the hip-hop mogul, but was unable to reach a decision on racketeering, which is the most complex of the charges. It requires the jury to decide not only whether Combs ran a criminal enterprise, but also whether he was involved in committing some or all of the various types of RICO offenses, like kidnapping and arson. The jury of 8 men and 4 women agreed to continue deliberating. We won't know the outcome of the partial verdict until those deliberations end. In a 4 p.m. note to the judge, jurors said they were unable to reach a unanimous verdict because there were jurors with unpersuadable views on both sides. In court, Combs appeared morose as his defense team explained to him what was happening. The jury heard testimony from 34 witnesses over the last 7 weeks, including his ex-girlfriends Cassie and a woman testifying under the pseudonym Jane, who said he forced them into drug-fueled sex marathons. A paid male escort they knew as the Punisher testified about those encounters. Personal assistants like Brendan Paul and George Kaplan told jurors they witnessed Combs' violence and facilitated his sexual exploits. And other women also testified accusing Combs of abuse. There was also rapper Kid Cudi.
Day and night.
He took the stand to blame Diddy for his Porsche being firebombed. Singer Dawn Richard from Danity Kane testified she witnessed Combs acting violently toward Cassie. All of the witnesses were called by the prosecution. Combs, who did not testify, denies all the charges. Julie Walker, New York.
Exasperated victims' families in Idaho killings. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues on those areas of the nation expecting severe weather today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
An area of low pressure centered mainly over Canada will dip toward the Great Lakes region today, and moisture being pulled northward ahead of a cold front in that area will result in a decent setup for severe thunderstorms this afternoon and evening from the southern half of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan through Wisconsin and areas north of I-69 and I-96 around Grand Rapids in lower Michigan. Any storm may produce hail and gusty winds of 50 to 60 miles per hour. That won't present the best conditions for any early holiday travel or shopping, but those who head out early enough in the day should be able to at least dodge a lot of the worst weather. The same holds true for parts of the southwest that are in line for rounds of thunderstorms the next couple of days, with rich tropical moisture in association with Hurricane Flossie off the Mexican coast continuing to build over the region. This will allow for no shortage of wet weather from West Texas and southeastern New Mexico, where showers and storms are possible at any time today, through the Arizona-New Mexico border zone, where storms may bring intense downpours this afternoon. Storms also extend northward to much of Utah and western Colorado, but perhaps not to the same level of repeated flooding downpours. Showers and storms also will dot the southeast and the mid-Atlantic today to the south and east of a cold front, allowing for plenty of humid air to be wrung out in the form of additional downpours. Some of these storms may also turn gusty at times this afternoon, with the potential for slow travel and flooded roadways. Behind the front, today actually brings drier conditions to the interior Northeast and the Ohio Valley, with most of the Midwest also dry. In Lexington, Kentucky, expect lower humidity today as sun mixes with some clouds on the way to a high of 87. For Roswell, New Mexico, sun gives way to clouds and some afternoon thunderstorms around with a high of 78. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen on any preferred platform. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. President Trump announces Israel has agreed to terms for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, a deal that Hamas has yet to accept. On social media, the president said, quote, "I hope for the good of the Middle East that Hamas takes this deal because it will not get any better. It will only get worse," end quote. While the president did not give any details on the proposed plan, it comes before Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to meet with Trump and Vice President JD Vance at the White House next week. The man charged in the 2022 killings of 4 University of Idaho students has accepted terms of a plea deal. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports it's an agreement that's left the families of the victims angry.
According to the plea agreement, Brian Kohberger, who was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary in connection with the killings of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, will be sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences on the murder counts and 10 years on the burglary count. Back in 2023, the former PhD criminology student at Washington State, which is close to the University of Idaho, was officially charged with stabbing the victims to death. News of the plea is not sitting well with the victims' families.
We were not prepared for this. We had no idea that this was going to happen. It's the opposite of what we wanted.
Steve Gonsalves spoke with ABC News.
I won't speak on all the family's parts, but I can 100%, because I was in the same room with them fighting against this decision with multiple families. This is not the majority.
The plea comes just weeks before Kohberger's trial was set to start. Opening arguments were slated for August 18th. I'm Clayton Neville.
Tesla shares fall in light of Trump-Musk feud. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. We're up to the business report now on America in the Morning, and the third quarter is underway. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has a market recap.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mixed start to July trading yesterday. The Dow soared 400 points. Investors leaned into healthcare. And the S&P 500 index and the Nasdaq each fell from record highs as investors leaned out of technology. Investors are thinking about the second half of the year now that it's begun, and there are questions.
What's been really interesting about the market is it almost seems like it's been shrugging off not knowing about the tariffs and geopolitics. It's been, a market that has just come completely back off of the April lows. And the bar is high, though, right? Because we are at these all-time high valuations. The market's been rallying. And what's around the corner is what will determine the path for the second half of the year. What is the Fed going to do? Is Iran and Israel, is that a 12-day conflict? Is that really over? What happens with tariffs?
Defiance ETF's Sylvia Jablonski on CNBC. Tesla shares fell 4% yesterday as the feud between CEO Elon Musk and President Trump ramped up, with Musk posting that the president's big, beautiful bill increases the deficit when he promised voters he'd shrink it.
If you look at Elon Musk, you have to be saying, what are you doing, man? You're jeopardizing not only Tesla, but probably from a larger extent, SpaceX. So it's incumbent upon him to stop antagonizing the president. He's talking about how he's going to potentially form a new political party.
Big Technology's Alex Kantrowitz on CNBC. New car sales in the U.S. were pretty strong for the second quarter, but Americans are taking on some big debt, like $750 a month car payments.
Keep in mind, Q2 includes April and May, which were blockbuster. June, it moderated a bit, but still you saw increases in the quarter for Ford, GM, and Toyota. You are seeing lower incentives in dealerships right now, and you are seeing prices remaining elevated, and monthly loan payments, they're close to a record high. Edmunds out with a note today saying the average for a new vehicle loan in the second quarter was $756. And get this, almost 20% of the auto loans in the second quarter included a monthly payment of greater than $1,000.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. It may be all about the 4th of July this week, but it's not too early to get a job for Halloween. Spirit Halloween, the retailer, has opened hiring up for 50,000 people leading up to October 31st. You can apply online. On today's watch list, we find out how many private sector jobs were created in the U.S. in June in the ADP employment report. Tesla will report its car deliveries for June. And Universal's Jurassic World Rebirth opens in theaters tonight. Universal is a sister company to CNBC.
Jessica Ettinger, thank you. When we return on America in the Morning, Philadelphia Trash Talk after these messages. America in the Morning continues. A judge is keeping Kilmar Abrego Garcia behind bars, agreeing with a request from the Salvadorian National's lawyers. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
A federal judge in Tennessee has ruled that Kilmar Abrego Garcia will stay in jail for now over concerns of his lawyers that he could be deported if released. They cite contradictory statements by the Trump administration about what they intend to do with Abrego Garcia. The Justice Department told the AP last week he's been charged with horrific crimes that it will prosecute before moving to deport him. At the same time, however, a Justice Department attorney told a federal judge in Maryland the U.S. government plans to deport Abrego Garcia to a third country that isn't El Salvador, saying there was no timeline. Abrego Garcia's attorneys say the administration's trying to deport him before he's had a chance to defend himself at trial. They call the human smuggling charges preposterous. I'm Ben Thomas.
Philadelphia is getting trashed, literally. Correspondent Sue Aller reports the largest union in the city of brotherly love has gone on strike, meaning no garbage pickups in the nation's sixth largest city.
In Philadelphia, the city's largest municipal workers union, District Council 33, has voted to go on strike. Thousands of workers walked off the job on Tuesday, which immediately halted trash and recycling pickup. These residents spoke with ABC 6 Action News.
It's a mess. I think that if this was going to happen, there should have been something in place before they made the announcement.
The trash is going to pile up and everything's going to be in the street. It's going to make the neighborhoods look bad, smell bad.
Mayor Sherelle Parker says alternative plans are being put in place to handle trash collection.
We are arranging for 63 temporary drop-off locations around Philadelphia where our residents can bring their trash.
This resident is not happy.
I don't want to put the trash in my car and take it down to a center. Some of the centers seem to be rec centers, which are play areas for kids. I don't love that.
The city argued that the strike jeopardizes public health and safety and requested an emergency injunction. A judge has ordered over 200 striking 911 dispatchers and fire communication staff to return to work, citing risk to public safety. Workers who do not comply could face fines or jail time. I'm Sue Aller.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The Senate passes President Trump's big, beautiful bill, and all eyes are now on the House. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
President Trump has toured a new immigration detention center in a remote part of the Florida Everglades. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
President Trump with stern words for a Democratic mayoral candidate in New York City. I'm Clayton Neville.
Your boss may be using AI to check your bias. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Will we get more Cobra Kai, and who might be in it? I'm Kevin Carr.
Epstein videos, government's response. The Trump-Musk feud reignites, and accused of dupe shopping. Back after these messages. America in the Morning rolls on. Weather playing a factor in some of the holiday plans around the nation. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with the forecast.
As Independence Day approaches, any early holiday travelers around the Four Corners, especially near the Arizona-New Mexico border, far southeastern New Mexico, and adjacent parts of West Texas, will want to stay weather aware, especially by this afternoon, as thunderstorms become more numerous in that zone. Even those who are simply out shopping to pick up some final items for any holiday plans might want to keep an extra close eye to the sky, as tropical moisture lifting northward from Hurricane Flossie off the southwest coast of Mexico will enhance rainfall through Thursday in these areas. This means that while the upcoming downpours will bring drought relief for some places, the rain will simply fall too quickly in others, leading to flash flooding and travel delays. In addition, some of these storms may be gusty enough to kick up some dust on their leading edge, and this blowing dust may further reduce visibility. Those areas are the most likely to face the most difficult travel conditions today, but the Southeast also has a relatively tough setup in store for last-minute holiday prep as a cold front becomes stalled over the region, allowing persistent southwesterly winds to funnel in Gulf moisture through the day. This will lead to very humid conditions even when it's not raining, but showers and some gusty thunderstorms should be fairly numerous from southern New Jersey through the I-95 corridor of Virginia, much of the Carolinas, and into the Big Bend of Florida this afternoon and evening. Outside of these zones, thunderstorms this afternoon and evening may turn severe over parts of the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes in association with a storm over Ontario from Wisconsin into northern lower Michigan, bringing hail and damaging winds to those areas, while the Northeast dries out and the West Coast stays mostly quiet for this middle of the week. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. President Trump's big, beautiful bill is one step closer to landing on his desk after the Senate narrowly voted to pass it Tuesday. But can the House now meet Trump's July 4th deadline? John Stolnis is following the story from Washington.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
Vice President JD Vance with the tie-breaking vote after 3 Republican senators, Rand Paul, Thom Tillis, and Susan Collins, joined every Democratic senator to vote against it. Speaking aboard Air Force One after a trip to Florida, the president said he was pleased.
We had a big day today. The bill passed, and I think it's going to do very well in the House. We'll see how that works out, but looks like it's ahead of schedule. See what happens. Happy about it.
The House passed their version back in May, but senators made significant changes that now must be reconciled, particularly changes to Medicaid that moderate Republicans are worried will force constituents off of their health care and risk shutting down rural hospitals. House Speaker Mike Johnson, however, selling the Medicaid cuts on Fox News.
If you're a young, able-bodied man, you should be helping to pull the wagon, not riding it. And so we have this very popular provision that says if you're going to receive Medicaid, you got to show that you're working or at least looking for a job or volunteering in your community.
Johnson said he hopes to have a vote on the bill later today, but its future remains uncertain. Republican Congressman Andy Harris tells Fox News he does not believe fiscal hawks who sit on the Rules Committee will approve the Senate's version without more changes.
I believe that the rule vote will not pass tomorrow morning, and then the Speaker's going to have to decide how he gets this back into the Senate framework, but into the House framework, I should say, right. And whether that's by scaling back some of the tax cuts that were added in the Senate, whether it's by going after some of the Green New Scam that the president doesn't like. We'll get there eventually, but I don't think it's going to be in the next couple days.
The Congressional Budget Office says the package would increase the deficit by $3.3 trillion over the next decade, a point not lost on Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
All procedural and legislative options are on the table.
The Senate version also contains $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, makes permanent Trump's 2017 tax rates, which were set to expire at the end of the year, rolls back billions in energy tax credits, and provides another $350 billion for border and national security. John Stolness, Washington.
President Trump travels to Florida to visit the migrant detention center in the Everglades being called Alligator Alcatraz. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani files this follow-up.
But very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation.
President Trump has toured a new immigration detention center in a remote part of the Florida Everglades.
It's known as Alligator Alcatraz.
Literally surrounded by gator-filled swamps.
Not a place I want to go hiking anytime soon.
It's a visual intended to send a message to illegal immigrants that they will face severe consequences if they don't follow U.S. laws.
This is not a nice business.
The president had earlier joked about teaching detainees who try to escape prison how to run from an alligator.
You know, snakes are fast, but alligators are, we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%.
Moving his hands in a zigzag motion. That doesn't appear to be sound advice. A University of Florida website recommends running in one direction in the rare case of a gator giving chase.
This enormous country-destroying invasion has swamped communities nationwide with massive crime, crippling costs, and burdens far beyond what any nation could withstand. No nation could withstand what we did.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
President Trump issues a stark warning to the Democrat running for mayor in New York City, saying he would order the arrest of candidate Zohran Mamdani if he doesn't follow federal rules. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Zohran Mamdani is a Ugandan-born Muslim. He won the Democratic Party's primary for mayor of New York City and said that if he takes office, he'll stop masked ICE enforcement officials from making deportations. President Trump was asked about that scenario.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
The president said the administration's closely watching.
A lot of people are saying he's here illegally. We're going to look at everything. And ideally,
He's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. You know, I've always said, we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism. And you got a lot of them like that. Look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago. And
he went as far as to call Mamdani a nut job.
We don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government.
Mamdani was recently asked by NBC's Meet the Press if he is a communist, as Trump claims.
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed.
As far as his politics, he told NBC,
you know, I call myself a democratic socialist in many ways inspired by the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
It's not just President Trump commenting on Mamdani. In fact, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand apologized to Mamdani this week after she falsely claimed in a radio interview that he made references to global jihad. I'm Clayton Neville.
When we return on America in the Morning, Epstein video files and rewrite. AI catches political bias in media. After these messages. Reaction to Attorney General Pam Bondi's surprising statement that the FBI was reviewing tens of thousands of videos related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Correspondent Eric Tucker reports that the announcement raises the stakes for President Trump's administration to prove it has in its possession previously unseen compelling evidence.
The Justice Department has spent months reviewing evidence from the sex trafficking investigation into the wealthy financier to prepare materials for public release. One aspect of the evidence that the Attorney General Pam Bondi has cited is the existence of what she says are tens of thousands of recordings that she says show Epstein with children or child pornography. At AP, we've been very interested in those remarks and trying to understand what it was that the Attorney General was talking about. We reviewed hundreds of documents from the criminal case that did not identify any kind of reference to sexually suggestive recordings of Epstein with children. We also interviewed people who are law enforcement officials and lawyers in the criminal case, and they told us they had not seen and were not familiar with the existence of a stash of recordings like the ones that Pam Bondi might be referencing. We did find in a civil case a reference to the discovery of video recorded materials and photographs that the Epstein estate said might constitute child sex abuse material. But when we approached the Justice Department for clarity and help in understanding what the Attorney General said, they declined to answer any specific questions about how long these recordings, if they exist, have been known to be in the government's possession. And instead, they said that the only people who really know about what's in the Epstein files are the people who are actually doing the work in the government themselves. It's worth noting that all of this scrutiny comes against the backdrop of an earlier Epstein document dump from February that Bondi hyped as delivering substantive and compelling new information, but that really fell flat and failed to satisfy conspiracy theorists and far-right influencers who have been hoping for months and years to find proof of a government cover-up in the Epstein case.
A war of words is ramping up between President Trump and Elon Musk over the big, beautiful bill. The world's richest man took to his X platform, vowing to form a new political party, and suggested he would back primary challengers against nearly every single Republican in Congress if the budget bill passes. Those words drew the ire of the president, who said Musk is unhappy over money he could lose if the bill passes.
He's upset that he's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but he could lose a lot more than that. I can tell you right now. Hey, Elon can lose a lot more than that.
Trump also quipped about Doge and even deporting Musk.
We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? But Elon's very upset.
Musk's companies, including SpaceX, have received billions of dollars in government contracts. On Wall Street, Tesla shares were down 4% yesterday. America in the Morning continues. An inmate sitting on Alabama's death row has had his sentence overturned. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
A federal appeals court has ruled that Alabama prosecutors violated the constitutional rights of a man sentenced to death in 1990. The court found that Michael Sockwell's 14th Amendment rights were breached, arguing prosecutors excluded black jurors based on race. Sockwell was convicted of killing former Montgomery County Sheriff Isaiah Harris in 1988. Prosecutors had argued that the sheriff's wife had hired Sockwell to kill her husband. Sockwell testified that another man who was having an affair with the sheriff's wife was the one who actually killed him. Initially, Sockwell, who has a low IQ, confessed to the crime. At his trial, his attorney said that officers threatened to beat and kill Sockwell before that confession and had deprived him of food and water. At age 62, Sockwell is now eligible for a retrial. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Legal reporters from the Law 360 news site are being told to rewrite stories due to political bias after AI checks their work. Correspondent Chuck Palm with details.
Law 360, a legal news outlet owned by LexisNexis, is now requiring every story to pass through an AI-powered bias detection tool before publication. The new policy is being rolled out after an executive accused the newsroom of liberal bias in its Trump administration coverage, creating a heated debate. The AI tool scans articles and flags sections that it deems biased, pushing the reporters to rewrite it for impartiality. Over 90 staffers from Law 360 have signed a petition calling the mandate a threat to journalistic integrity and arguing its risks oversimplify the difficult and complex legal reporting issues. Critics on social media have pushed back and asked whether AI itself could even lean one way or the other, and what happens if AI is biased. A study from the UN in 2025 found that AI image generators often depict science or math professionals as white males, reinforcing stereotypes in tech fields. For more, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
With a check of midweek sports, here's Robert Workman.
At Wimbledon, 13 men's and 10 women's seeds have already fallen in the first 2 days of play at the All England Club. On Tuesday, that number included Americans Coco Gauff and Jessica Pegula, the 2 and 3 seeds. Men's top seed, Jannik Sinner, advanced easily. Baseball make it 8 straight wins for the Marlins, who shut out the Twins 2-0 behind the 2-hit pitching of Edward Cabrera and company. 5 in a row for the Pirates as they blanked the Cardinals 1-0. Paul Skeens started for Pittsburgh, but he was long gone when his battery mate Henry Davis brought home the game's only run with a sac fly in the 8th.
I mean, all things considered, it went pretty well. They could have easily put on a couple runs there. We made some really, really good plays behind me, but pretty happy with it.
Angels scored 4 in the 8th to beat the Braves 4-0. Tyler Anderson and friends scattered 7 hits. Dodgers drubbed the White Sox 6-1. Shohei Ohtani hit his 30th home run. That's the 5th year in a row he's reached that figure. Rangers romped over the Orioles. Jacob deGrom improved to 9-2. George Springer hit a grand slam and drove in 7 as the Blue Jays blasted the Yankees. Astros edged the Rockies. Victor Caratini with a granny. Diamondbacks drilled 4 dingers in a romp over the Giants. A's shaded the Rays in 10 innings. Royals doubled up the Mariners. And the Cubs clubbed the Guardians. Cleveland has dropped its last 5. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, accusations a major retailer is selling merch knockoffs after these messages. America in the Morning continues. A famous athletic clothing maker is accusing one of the nation's largest shopping outlets of selling duplicates of some of its products. Correspondent Wyatt Grantham Phillips reports on a serious accusation of dupe shopping.
Lululemon has recently slapped Costco with a lawsuit, accusing the wholesale club operator of selling lower-priced duplicates of some of its popular athleisure apparel. This isn't the first time that Lululemon and other companies with steep price tags on their goods have encountered what they say are knockoffs of their product. But the rise of dupe shopping has exploded recently. Late last year, Walmart, for example, created a buzz online when it began selling a $78 bag that closely resembled Hermès' iconic Birkin. Unlike unlike counterfeits, which are illegal copies of a product that feature an unauthorized trademark or logo of a patented brand, so-called pure dupes may resemble certain features of more expensive products, but are generally legitimate. And Lululemon has found itself in this kind of situation before, suing Peloton over alleged copycat products back in 2021. But 2 years later, the companies announced a 5-year partnership that included Lululemon becoming the primary athletic apparel partner to Peloton.
Correspondent Wyatt Grantham Phillips. The Netflix series Cobra Kai continues to make news. Months after it ended, Kevin Carr reports on a cast altercation and speculation about a spin-off.
On June 23rd at SummerCon in Puyallup, Washington, actress Alicia Hannah Kim was bit on the arm by her co-star Martin Kove. Even after Kove admitted to the act, he was asked to leave the convention. Kove claimed he simply went too far being playful, heard in this body cam footage from an officer at the scene.
I apologize. I was just playing because we're very playful together, and I bit down too hard, and I meant to
She's got a mouth mark on her.
I know.
No, we do not play like that.
Hannah Kim declined to press charges, but this week she posted a video on Instagram thanking fans for support.
No one wants to be attacked at work or anywhere, really. And I don't think anybody would think that this is normal or warranted or acceptable.
This news comes in the middle of rampant speculation about a Cobra Kai spin-off. Everyone from the showrunners to Ralph Macchio seem to be pitching ideas. Even actor Sean Kanan recently told Mind-Blowing Films he envisioned a spin-off with his character and Chosen.
Maybe they're teaching karate by day and working as detectives at night. Who knows? I don't know.
This week, a fan of the franchise released a fake poster for a Mr. Miyagi prequel. This follows actor Shira Nobuyaga releasing a photo of himself cast as Miyagi in Karate Kid Legends. Netflix has not announced plans for any spin-off. However, with the enduring nature of the franchise, it would not be unexpected. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.